All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's Monday, November 4th. We're at Appleseed's Restaurant. If everyone could please stand and say a pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to read our school committee statement. The committee represents the needs of all Leominster Public School students and places their interests above all others. We will exercise leadership, adhere to our protocols, and base our decision upon a reasoned assessment of all available information. We will advocate for each of our schools and support high-quality public education in Leominster. Having said that, we're going to open up to the public forum. If anyone would like to address the committee, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, please. We have a special guest.
Robbie is my guest. Good evening, Natalie Higgins, State Representative in the City of Leominster and also a resident at 333 Elm Street. Since your last meeting, the Massachusetts House of Representatives passed the Student Opportunity Act, so I just really wanted to come and thank you all for all of your advocacy. Leominster voices were at the forefront of making sure that this bill was done right, and I know that you have been waiting for 3 years for us as the state to make sure that we get this bill right. So for those of you who aren't familiar, mostly in the audience, the Foundation Budget Review Commission recommended 5 changes to the way that we do the foundation budget, and we included all of these in the Student Opportunity Act. And for those of you who are familiar with kind of the breakdown at the end of last session, it was one that was really important to the City of Leominster and other gateway cities, which is how do we treat and how do we fund our economically disadvantaged students. So while it took a while, I have to say that this bill exceeded my expectations and a lot of my colleagues' expectations, and we were really happy. So I brought you a more detailed explanation, but I wanted to give you some highlights and explain to you in real dollars what we project this means for Leominster Public Schools. So it implements all 5 recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Commission, including addressing employee health care costs, special education needs. A special piece of this is including transportation in the circuit breaker calculation, which impacted every single school district. Increasing funding for English learners, understanding that the older the student comes to our classroom, the more intensive needs they're going to have. So we shouldn't be treating all of the students the same. And also addressing the needs of school districts with high concentrations of low-income students, making sure that the lowest income districts get 100% more funding for those students. This is going to be a game changer, and a happy report that we're going back to 185% of the federal poverty limit, so it's going to capture a better piece of the picture of kind of who are the neediest students in our communities. And there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for the Leominster Public Schools, and I'm looking for you to just let me know what's going on with that, because I know you've been asked to not necessarily count your kids, to use state programming to see who qualifies. So we think that the funding could increase in future years for the first year rollout, because we're going to get a better picture of what percentage of our students count as low income. And then data collection and reporting. We can always do better at making sure we're highlighting what districts are doing really well, and I think that this is an opportunity for the Leominster Public Schools to shine and show really some of the best practices that our other districts should be using. And so on the last page, what does this mean for Leominster in terms of projected funding? We saw the initial down payment on this plan in the FY 2020 budget, where Leominster's Chapter 70 aid increased more than $2.78 million to over $47 million for the year. If we did not make any changes in the formula, the Chapter 70 projections for Leominster in fiscal year 2027 would have been $55,699,224. With these proposed changes, Leominster is projected to see an increase of more than $7 million over 7 years to $62,739,000 by FY 2027. Yeah, that's still $15 million overall from where we are today. Just $7 million with these changes. And this is only a piece of the funding. Leominster contributes 39% of its total funding, with the state taking in 61%. So these are the state numbers. There's also going to have to be a conversation about what does that look like, but that means significant new revenue for the school department for 7 years, and I'm going to need you all helping me on the state level, making sure that we continue our commitment to increasing this funding year after year. Beyond the Chapter 70 funding reforms, we also anticipate Leominster will see a $56,000 increase in charter reimbursement because we're committing to fully funding it, and a $762,000 increase in circuit breaker reimbursement when it's fully funded with transportation taken into account. So more than anything, I want to thank you all and the parents, students, and teachers and staff who have been advocating to make sure that we get this right, that we take real action. And at the start, we have a plan, but we're going to need to come together as a community to make sure that this is fully funded over the next 7 years.
Well, thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful. We appreciate that you and your colleagues do. Thank you. It's good to hear some good news for a change. Yes. It's refreshing. It's been a tough fight. Absolutely. So does anybody else, it's going to be a hard act to follow, but if anybody else would like to address the committee, please, step forward. One last final time, if anybody would like to address the committee, please step forward. We're going to close that portion of our meeting since no one has come forward. And we're going to move right along to the communications superintendent. There are no communications this evening. Okay. How about your superintendent's report?
That's pretty lengthy.
Okay.
We've been really busy. Last week, seeing everything hit us at once. So happy November. And it looks like we might be looking at snow by the end of the week, so let's hope that that's not an issue. We started last week every evening. There were events happening throughout the city, and we were honoring senior students and their families, just trying to honor where they've been, culminating the fall season. I know it's hard to believe, but June 1st will be here in less than 7 months for graduation. So every chance we get to bring, I'm telling you, I know, I'm the countdown queen. It goes really fast. And so we're in second quarter already. We're days into it. We have a fresh start, and seniors are getting ready, and sports and events are transitioning into winter sports. And I don't know where the fall's gone, but here it is November 4th, and we're moving on. Speaking of which, next Thursday, November 12th, we have a unified basketball game. It is one of the most invigorating things to watch. We are going against Fitchburg in our gym. So at 3:30, we're hoping that we can get as many people in there. You will leave with a smile on your face, and you'll be talking about it for days. It's just it's a new endeavor for us, and it's just brought such a sense of community to all of us.
Is it Tuesday and Thursday?
The 12th.
That's Tuesday.
Is that a Tuesday?
Yeah.
So Tuesday.
3:30?
3:30.
Okay.
So tomorrow is a half day. It's no school. It's a professional development for teachers. Tomorrow we are going down a pretty deep journey to begin our conversation around equity and supporting equitable practices throughout the district. So we have staff between 8 and 12:30 tomorrow, and they have time in the afternoon to complete some of their professional responsibilities. So that will be a very busy day, plus it's election day, so you have to vote to have a voice. And we also have no school on Monday for Veterans Day. We have a lot of veteran-sponsored events this Friday, so I would also like to thank everyone for their service. And if you see a veteran, make sure you stop and do as well. And we, on Friday night, I was a celebrity. Was I a celebrity waitress? That was my actual thing.
That sounds good.
All right. So I thought I was a celebrity manipulator. It was fine. At the Beacon of Hope Gala, hosted at the Doubletree. So I got to wait on, they gave me 2 tables, really nice people. They were feeling sorry for me. But I then noticed I had children at my tables.
Yeah.
So I put them to work with my jars. And they walked around the room and tried to entice people to donate to my jar. The night was a blast. We had several celebrity waiters and waitresses. There was singing songs, there were dancing, you had to tell jokes, costumes, you name it, we had to do it. Well worth it. And although it was sold out, I would recommend everybody next year put it on your schedule because it was phenomenal. And this week we get to end our week celebrating Miss Suzanne Kohler down at Cape, the joint conference of MASC and MASS Friday night for her lifetime commitment to school committee and support of students and moving Leominster forward. So it'll be fun, and many of us will be there on Friday night, and so congratulations. Yes, so thank you. Busy,
Awesome.
busy time.
Lots of good things happening throughout the district. All right, we're going to move right on to presentations. We have a presentation for the EL. Do we have a student yet for a student report?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Renee. We're going to put you on hold. I didn't see that.
I just showed up.
Okay. Come right up to the table here and the microphone, and we'd love to hear your student report.
Come up here.
Go ahead, right up here.
Come right up here. And you can tell me what your students. Are you reporting out about this events that are happening in high school?
Or are you doing a report?
Oh, you're just taking
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So you're not doing the student report. Sorry. All right. Little confusion. We ask sometimes for a student to report out what's going on within the school system, particularly the high school. So we got a little confused with you being there. So, Renee, sorry about that.
That's okay. Paula has asked me to do a little presentation around our ELLs that are growing steady in Leominster. And we were excited because last week we participated in their LPAC meeting for the first meeting. And we had parent liaisons, the first time that Leominster has a full, every school has a parent liaison for 3 hours a day, which you're going to meet someone behind us tonight. But I just wanted to start talking about 2014-15. If you look at the paper I gave you, we had 343 total students that were ELL, and 128 of those students were first year, so they came to the country for their first year. And then 16-17, we went to 493, which is a 150 increase over a year and a half, basically 2 years, with 124. And now we have 724 students this year, with 156 students coming into their first year in the United States, in Leominster, Massachusetts, for an education. So our population is quickly rising. Our needs are getting a little bit more for those students who are coming in for their first years, not speaking English as their first language. And then we went back and looked at the native language. As you can see, back then it was Spanish, some Portuguese, and very little Creole. Now, 5 years later, our Spanish is down to 68%, it says in that little thing, but we have Portuguese has doubled, almost tripled, and then our other two languages, Twi and Creole, are stepping up to the plate now a little bit more. So we're having a wide range of languages being used, and as the ELL director, I am constantly translating in all these languages so our parents and our students are able to know what's going on and communicate, and with the help of our parent liaison also behind me. So that just kind of shows you how 5 years it's grown. And then I kind of gave you the pull out from X2, how all the other different languages that we have that don't even count for as our 4 major ones. And then you look at the ELL where they're spread across each school, and how back then it was, Fallbrook, because we had our programs there at Fallbrook, and at Johnny Appleseed and Francis Drake were our big populations, along with Northwest. And now, 5 years later, it's kind of spread the wealth, and we're having them in all our buildings. So those are just 724 students. This is where they're located, and they run between anywhere 127 students to like Pre-Street that has 26, which is the least amount, and they're the smallest building right now currently. I attach the parent liaisons at each building for 3 hours a day, so you can see their bios, where they come from, and why they're here to support the Leominster Public Schools. They're very eager, they're very excited, and they have a lot to give back to the community and to those families, which we appreciate. Currently, we are looking at 16 full ELL teachers who are licensed, 12 tutors, and 2 paras. And as we look forward and ahead, some of our increases will have to be in this area to keep up with the times and to keep up with making sure that these students get serviced properly and their needs are met. Any questions on that piece?
No.
I gave you I'm just going to have you, some of them all couldn't make it because our parent liaisons have more than one job, so a lot of them work at night, 3 to 11. But I asked them to come up and just introduce themselves so you can put a name and a face together and what school they're at. They're very nervous, so I told them to just name and school that you guys wouldn't ask any questions. You can direct them at me afterwards. And then afterwards, Gloria, who's been helping myself run the LPAC, is just going to give you a little rundown of what the LPAC is, the English Language Parent Advisory Council. So, come on up, guys. No, yeah,
They don't fight. We don't fight. Very nice. And can I tell you, we couldn't function without these people. And the feedback that we have gotten from parents that have told us, I want to speak to that liaison. I feel comfortable. They make me feel welcome. They understand me. It really is a major contribution in each one of our buildings at this point.
It's really wonderful, and we appreciate everyone.
And they're really nice people. They're very nice people.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Liana Guzman, and I am the Parent Liaison and Intake Specialist at the Parent Information Center at the Central Office. Nice meeting you all.
All right, thank you. And I think you're probably the most busiest person.
Hi, my name is Valeria Cespedes, and I work at Fallbrook, my first year of parent liaison.
Nice. Welcome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Right. I'm Anna Polt. I speak Portuguese. I haven't even started, and I'll be working at the high school. I'm very excited, and nice meeting you all.
Great. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Amara Saville, and I'm the parent liaison at Northwest School.
Great.
I just started like 2 weeks ago. So.
Oh, good.
Spanish?
Yes.
Spanish.
Okay. And the other folks I knew, the first
Spanish.
Spanish and Portuguese.
Okay,
Do we have another Portuguese?
Fly Portuguese.
Okay.
She's not here tonight.
Okay.
That's wonderful. We really do appreciate all of your help and support. It means so much to our families and our students.
Good.
Okay, my name is Gloria Morales, and I'm the parent liaison at Francis Drake. I speak Spanish as my primary language, and I'm excited to work with the families, and I think we can make a big difference. So you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. She's going to go right into the LPAC stuff and then. Great. I'll leave you on that.
Okay, so it's nice to be here tonight, and I'm here to talk about the English Learner Parent Advisory Council, or LPAC. This council came about because Governor Baker signed into law on November 22nd, 2017, the Language Opportunity for Our Kids Act, or LOOK Act. I have a handout. Yeah, so you have that with more information about LOOK Act and LPAC. The main purpose of this law is to improve the education experience for English learners, or EL. An English learner is a student who doesn't speak English or whose native language is not English. They are not able yet to perform ordinary classroom work in English. So the law has created more opportunities for input for parents and legal guardians of English learners in language acquisition programs. So Leominster is required to have a PAC because any school district with 100 or more English learners requires an LPAC. So ESL coach last school year, Rita de Oliveira, and the parent liaison start working on this last school year, and the two initial meetings with families in the district. During the second meeting, we create draft bylaws for the council. This year, we had another meeting with the families to reintroduce the topic and gain volunteers to make up the LPAC. We are meeting in December to finish the bylaws and elect the official for the group. Once the council has been formed, they will formally present on the recommendations to the school district. I think that's basically. Thank you very much for the time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Does anybody have any questions?
We're excited.
I know, we're just very excited. You're all involved, and we'll encourage all the parents to become more involved in the school system and show up at some of our meetings and help give us input on how we can improve.
And we've asked with Gloria and the parent liaisons to, when they can, come to a meeting so that we are able to communicate back to the LPAC to make sure that we're providing information, get their input as well. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago. I have to say I was lost. And it was really nice. Someone across the room came next to me and said, "You look scared." I said, "I am." The conversations were just free-flowing, and people had so many good ideas, and that they're ready to go and they're excited. So we will have an agenda well prepared in advance, and we asked every member that came last time, we met at the Spanish American Center, to bring one friend with them so that we can grow this group.
So if any parents out there hear this, they're welcome to join at any point in time.
And we will post on our website as well the agendas and make sure that we create our own file.
And are we posting in multiple languages?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
That would be important.
Yes.
So Steve helped me out. We do have under the district information on the webpage. We put it down right down below the CPAC. There's an LPAC. So today I sent the meeting notes and the languages that we had. It takes a little while to get our Portuguese up there, but we'll get it up there eventually. And all the agendas that we've done so far. So any parent who wants to go and see what it's about, it's all there with the notes and the handouts.
Great.
Anna's ready to go.
And where do you usually meet? Is it one particular place?
We've been using the Spanish American Center, and then last year we used LCE, the building. So we're still playing around with that, getting parents' input around where is a convenient place to meet.
And for the size.
And for size, because not only do they bring their kids with them, so we have a babysitter, but they're in and out, and they're enjoying the atmosphere and the community piece too. So
great.
But I'm very lucky to be working with these. They save me a lot of times, and they really are a crucial piece of our operation right now in our schools.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. That was great.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Gloria.
All right. October 1st numbers. I think that means you, Maureen.
It's that time. I guess. Well, yeah. We've hit the button.
So I believe that we put, good evening. I believe that we put the report 5 of the many reports that we are able to get back from the Department of Education into your packet, which is the report that you have received in the past, and that's the enrollment statistics for October 1st, that we did hit the button, so we have certified our data, but we do, in fact, today we were allowed to open up the data, and we had to make a couple of tweaks based on some information that we found about our early childhood children. So I believe that November 7th is the day when no changes will be allowed to be made. But so there may be a couple of pieces that change, not necessarily overall enrollments, but in some of the demographics if we had to make some changes. Just to let you know, the total enrollment that you see on Report 5 is 6,078, which is an increase of 51 students over last year for October 1. And Renee had already spoken to you about the fact that our L's in the district are at 724, which is a slight increase from last year. The students who are identified as needing special education services have also increased at both the age 3 to 5 and the age 6 to 21. So we have had an increase in that subgroup of students, and also the students who receive accommodations in 504 plans. So that demographic has increased. We have increased the number of students at the CTEI over last year, but we are still a little bit below where we were at a high in 2018. But the numbers have increased, and certainly that has a bottom line impact on our foundation formula. The number of students who overall, as I mentioned, had received L, they also provide additional support in our foundation budget as well as special education. So it's certainly very important for us to make sure that we identify all of those children. Barbara Davis, who is clerical support at our district level, is a dog after a bone with all of this information, and we're lucky to have her. So she spends an awful lot of time making sure that she's supporting the information that comes out of the schools and that it's correct and that it gets to the state in a timely manner. So just want to publicly thank her for all that she does.
That's wonderful. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Mike?
So first, I'm not sure I understood this correctly last year, so I want to ask the attendance numbers we have here, the total 6,078. Is that Leominster students regardless of where they are, or is that students that were in our schools on that day?
Students that were in our schools on that day.
So this would include school choice in students?
Correct.
But would not include Leominster school choice out students?
Correct.
Those are close to the same number, but not exactly?
Yes.
Okay. So the foundation budget will be based on the Leominster students rather than, so the school choice plus or minus will affect this number when they determine our budget. All right. My second question is that thing about the dates. Since we've just been handed a thing that says economically disadvantaged students are now back to up to 185% of poverty level instead of the much smaller percent that we've been using, and yet we've already turned in these numbers. The lower level is being handled by state certification, so it's kind of out of our control. Do we know yet how we're going to count the students in between the state certification and the 185? Are we able to count them for this coming year? Is that a thing that, has the state provided any guidance yet? Is that going to be something up to us? Are they supposed to figure that out? Are there regulations to come? Or do we know?
There are regulations to come that we are not completely secure with. For the 2020, we are completely direct certification at this point.
Right.
If they make any changes, we do gather information regarding the students who are not direct certification from the state. They do fill out forms, and we have those forms. So if we are required to provide additional data, I'm sure that we have that data to provide them when they ask us for it.
So I'm stating the obvious, but we have a significant number of students, I believe, who fall into that category of in between the 125 and what they were using in the 185. And that's a significant amount of money. We want to make sure that we account for every one of those students when the time comes.
Yes.
However they live to do that. All right, those are my two questions.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add? All right. Thank you very much, Kim. We appreciate everyone's efforts. Thank you, Lorraine. Okay. We're going to move on to the human resource report. Dr. Riley couldn't be here this evening. He had an appointment. So he just provided what has been since the last report, and as you can see, it's mostly replacement positions except for one additional ABA tutor at Francis Drake, and that's programmatic. Otherwise, we have been holding and maintaining with the staff levels since the beginning.
beginning of the year. So it was a much shorter list this time.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the HR report?
I was just curious why we had so many resignations in September. Is that normal? Or?
Yes.
Is that?
It's the position.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like mostly aides and tutors.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For the most part. Okay. All right. The fiscal 20 capital projects request list.
So, School Department has brought to us a list of 5 priority items. Correct page. So, number 1, we have a memo from Tony. Number 1 is Fallbrook Elementary School. Tony has recommended that we submit a request to the MSBA, Massachusetts School Building Authority, for a major update and renovation of the school. We're past the point of just repairing things. In order to submit a funding request, we need a feasibility study, which has been itemized at $150,000. Item 2 is the emergency generator switch at Johnny Appleseed. I believe we've actually already approved that, made that request.
We have.
So I don't think we need to remake that request, but that was, we've given a prioritized list, so that's up there. Number 3 is the water pump at Samoset. Again, the actual bid is at $39,183. We have received an appropriation from the city for $30,000. That leaves $9,183 as yet unfunded.
So did they give us the $30,000 after receiving the $39,000 bid, or they just estimated it would cost $30,000 and we need to go back and ask for the $9,000?
We need the balance.
So, my understanding is we got an initial, Tony estimated $30,000, and that information was passed over, and then passed along, and then we got the bid for $39,000, and that was passed along, and then $30,000 was sent to City Council and approved.
Okay.
So I believe they had the $39,000
Sure.
bid.
But we should request the $9,000.
Yeah. So we have, in fact, I believe, voted the $39,000 number, but since we got 30s with 39, we should re-request the $9,183 difference.
Yeah.
Number 4 is a request regarding to the variable frequency drive units on the rooftop at Skyview. These are air quality. I believe they're giant fans that are part of the HVAC system that have failed. They're Train proprietary products that only Train can replace because they're going inside. They're parts for a larger thing that's from Train. That's a large amount, $19,277.
And is that something that is no longer under warranty?
They're decades old.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they lasted as long as they did. Number 5 is for the repairs to the roof drainage system at the flagpole entrance for the high school. We have a problem where water draining off the roof is ending up inside the entrance and in the cafeteria because the drainage pipes weren't done correctly and weren't fixed during the high school renovation. That's estimated at $12,000. Only $12,000? The sentence right at the rest of the sentence that says require extensive plumbing work, replacement of ceiling tiles, and other related costs.
We're not proposing to redo the drainage system underneath the slab. That would be cost prohibitive. What we're doing is proposing to repipe those drains into the new pipes that were done when the high school was renovated.
Okay. So it's fine. So we believe that we'll be able to do that for $12,000.
Yes.
We're confident in that estimate. All right. It is my understanding that in terms of how DESB will account for these, that number 1, 2, and 3 are clearly capital expenses that will not count towards net school spending. I believe we will report 4 and 5 as extraordinary maintenance, so they will count towards net school spending. They are, however, amounts that exceed the per project kind of cost that we budget for, so we believe it's appropriate to ask for a supplemental appropriation. So I would move that we request these 5 minus what's already been done. Number 2's already been done, and minus the $30,000 we've already got number 3. That we request the rest from Mayor and City Council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments, thoughts? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All much needed projects. All right. Anything else, Mike, on that before we move on?
Those were all the capital projects that were brought forward to us.
Okay.
I didn't miss anything, did I?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to double check that you were flipping through, and I wasn't sure if you were looking for something. Or...
Well, up next is the minutes, so I'll try to find my minutes.
Gotcha. All right. So we have the minutes from October 21st, 2019, and the Finance Subcommittee from October 15th, 2019. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second, please? Second. Anybody have any corrections, omissions, errors? Having none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to subcommittee reports. Finance Subcommittee, Mike?
So Finance met tonight, and we primarily did the review the capital projects request that we just approved. Do we need to bring the Kendall request to the full school committee that we approved?
Probably. I think you do. Usually we do.
So we had requests for 964 was the total, 940, to be spent out of the Kendall Fund for some activities at the high school.
200 for ceramicists, 600 for 3 science teachers to attend the National Science Teachers Convention in Boston, and 140 for science teacher to attend the Central Mass Science Teacher Conference.
And as these are essentially one-time things that would benefit both the teachers and their students, and not things that we felt should have been in the budget, everybody agreed that we as finance recommended, approval. So I make a motion to approve spending the $940 with the total rather than on the items as read out.
I'll second.
All right. Any questions, conversations, discussions? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else from the Finance Subcommittee?
I believe that's all we have ready for the school committee at this point.
Okay.
Do we need an action item on the D-bus thing?
We tabled that.
We tabled, that's right. All right.
We'll bring that up again next time.
Yeah. Okay. Policy Subcommittee, Isabel, do you have any updates?
We haven't met since the 21st of October, but at our next meeting we're going to discuss vaping and vaping policy.
Okay.
Updates.
Great. Now we did first and second readings. Correct of all those. I just want to make sure we got them all. Okay. Perfect. All right. Moving right along, we have action items to vote on the MASC resolutions. And Ron, before we even get to that, I'm voting for you to be our delegate person.
Well, I'm very happy to do it, but I don't want to think I'm being...
No, we like you doing it. We enjoy and appreciate the fact that you're willing to do that.
I'm very happy to do it. I just don't want anyone to think I'm...
No. We're glad you accept that nomination.
No. I will take it.
All right. So the resolutions, and I left my book at home. Are they right here?
Yeah, they're in.
Okay, sorry. In the very back. Very back. In the handwriting.
Do we need to do each one separately?
So we need to do each one separately, just because.
Yeah.
So the first resolution is banning polycystine from schools. And basically, the ban used to expand the foam cups, bowls, plates, and trays for Massachusetts public schools is what it is. Is that something that we use extensively here? Foam cups, plates,
No, I'd say no.
trays?
You can use those cardboard tray type
Things, right, which aren't those foamy things. Does anybody have a strong opinion or would like to make a motion, yay or nay?
Make a motion that we accept this, support it.
So yay, right?
Yep. Does anybody else can I have a second? Okay. All those in favor? Supporting that? Motion carries. The second resolution is pertaining to educator diversity and professional licensure. And so basically, the rationale is the licensure Board of Elementary and Secondary Education has resulted in complex, difficult license system that discourages qualified candidates applying for licensure and recruiting from diverse cohorts and new educators. So they wanted to change the standards placed on the hands of committees of educators. I mean, anybody have any thoughts or questions? I mean, obviously we certainly could benefit from diverse educators to match the diverse needs of our students.
I make a motion that we support this.
This one's weird, though, because that's what it starts out with. But the actual resolution is to eliminate the MTEL and the Mass Performance Assessment for Leaders as licensing requirements for educators. And further resolve that governance and licensure of professional educators be vested in the board comprised of licensed educators. So I am totally on board with increasing educator diversity because, number one, there is that clearly true. We have ample evidence that having a teacher who looks like you, seems to be like you, has a massive impact on your education. It's not quite clear to me how eliminating MTEL does that.
I just want to warn you guys that no matter how it's written over here, I can guarantee you there's going to be some people that are going to be changing that wording.
Right.
You know, whether it's the MTEL or the diversity of the teachers, I can already see the crapshoot that's going to happen.
This really looks like an eliminate the MTEL proposal dressed up as a diversity in educators proposal.
You're right.
I think you have to look at the author, too. It's Arlington School Committee, so you have to take these with who's presenting. That's another, I mean, again, they're not as diverse as we are.
Right.
So
I'm totally in favor of diversifying our educators. It's not clear to me that this is the vehicle to do that.
Okay. Fair point. What do people think?
I think it's a strange combination, but I'm not against eliminating the MTEL.
Do we think the MTEL is skewed so people from diverse backgrounds may not perform as well?
Just to be frank, it's hard, and it doesn't necessarily dictate whether or not you're a good educator. It's a test.
Right. But I don't think this is giving anybody the right to eliminate the MTEL.
No, because it's paired.
That's the
resolution. It's paired in a weird way.
Right.
It's a weird relationship.
We're going to agree that we're advocating to eliminate the MTEL. It doesn't actually do it, but that's the position taken.
Yeah.
The solution to educator diversity is to eliminate the MTEL.
But that's not, See, that's where I'm having the issue as well.
Don't get me started on standardized testing.
So I'll make a motion not to support it, but it's already, somebody already supported it, right?
Right.
I just think it's a weird, it's not the best argument for diversity.
Well, I think, as Ron says, I think this is going to be tweaked.
Oh, I know it's going to be tweaked because, you know, as...
So I think we can say, and if somebody wants to make a motion that, you know, we are in favor of diversifying teacher and others, you know, staff within the school district, but not necessarily supporting the vanquishment of the MTEL.
Well, I don't think it's in reading this, it says it's recruiting a diverse and qualified cohort of new educators will be enhanced if the barriers presented by MTEL are removed. It doesn't mean MTEL is removed.
MTEL is preventing diverse.
So on this one, though, it says, therefore be it resolved, Massachusetts Association of School Committee calls for the elimination of the MTEL and the mass performance assessments for leaders.
All the whereases are the whys. I agree with a lot of the whys. But the actual, you're not going to advocate.
Well, it's because what it is basically, the dirty part of this, they're trying to protect themselves. Because as the thing with Sue, it's coming from Arlington, they can feel the heat. They can feel it. They know changes are coming, and they want to try and harness it. And they're afraid of what's going to happen. That's the problem.
I mean, I think we can all support diversity.
But diversity, you know, diversity, how do you spell diversity? With a capital D or a small d? Capital Y or a small y? And that's the crux of it. Because diversity is a big thing. Diversity can also be a small thing. It can be done in increments. But who represents the diversity? That's the I just bit my tongue. That's the part that's really dangerous. How do you define diversity? Do you define it what you see in the mirror, or do you define it by what you see on TV, or do you define it by what you read?
Well, we're probably not going to. Sure, but we're not going to probably answer that question.
No, I know that. It's not. Just tell you what's going to be governing.
Right.
What's going to be governing the behaviors that distinguish it.
So let's sort of call the question. We have a motion right now to support it, and either we can vote on that or we can withdraw that depending on how people are feeling. I think at first blush it sounded like a good resolution, but there's pieces of it we don't particularly like.
I would venture to say, bring with a caveat. If they play with the MTEL, if they remove it, or they add to it, or delete to it, we might have to say...
They're talking about removing the barriers that sometimes...
Well, when they say removing the barriers,
you can say, yes, we could do that, but to eliminate it maybe completely, we're not ready to maybe throw out the whole thing.
I mean, a big question would be, if we eliminate the MTEL, what are we replacing it with?
Yeah,
because that will have a big influence on my decision about whether I support that or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is these are sort of non-binding anyways.
Right,
I mean, where it's just a stance. Right. So we have a motion. Why don't we take a vote? We had you made the motion, Nona, and I think Cody, you seconded it. Or Isabel, sorry. So all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All right. Right, with the caveat, I guess, is sort of where I'm going. Okay. And then against it?
I'll come. This is all with a caveat. Yeah. I think it's the best thing because all of a sudden they're going to sit up, what does this mean? I'm going to say it's because
it was
guys,
5-2.
You guys didn't really read what you wrote, because if you did, you'd realize you're placing a loaded gun on this topic.
So moving right along, school transportation. And... let's see. Therefore, be it resolved, in order to promote greater competition for bus service, contracts, and improved performance, MASC calls for the creation of a working group to advise the legislature on the best solutions to support greater competition and higher performance from transportation companies.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that school committee members would be skilled at doing that.
No, I know, but I think some of our problems, particularly this year, have centered on we're held to one bus company. And, if we had some competition in being able to select between 2 or 3 bus companies, we would probably get better service. Now, I don't know how...
Pricing.
Yeah, I don't know how...
down by price at the lowest bidder, I think.
Right.
That's, the closest to the specs.
Right.
Well, let's get we all have different specs.
We only ever get one bid.
Right.
No, that's not true.
When was the last time we had more than one bid?
Yeah,
When was the last contract? I know I went through documents. I don't know who they were, but...
Right. There's been a few.
At least 2. I don't know who they were, but...
My understanding was First Students was the only bidder we had the last 2 times.
Yep.
Were they?
Yeah. That's what,
A long time ago, we used to have more.
But I don't know what creating a working group to advise the legislature how that's going to be effective.
Well, it's probably going to be more price control, too. That's the issue, I think. They're getting what they want.
The real problem is they've under the table divided up territories and they don't fit against each other.
Right.
Exactly. It's monopoly.
Right. So they get what they
They've
want.
created a monopoly.
Yeah. So I would support a task force.
But support the task force, but with a drop dead date of finishing it and presenting it and getting it working. Because if you're just going to ask for a task force, you could have a task force forever.
I think it's supposed to be ongoing. I don't think it's supposed to serve a limited basis.
Let's just put pressure on the legislature.
Yeah,
to do
just kind of a constant lobby.
Yeah, so with a drop dead date of when to get this thing done.
So it sounds like, Sue, would you like to make a motion to support it?
Sure. I'll make a motion to support that.
Okay. All those in favor? Motion carries. Resolution 4 is climate change. I guess Jane Fonda has recently gotten rearrested. Looking for the resolve here. MASC advocates for the funding for school infrastructure need and emergency funding for disaster relief caused by natural catastrophes and extreme weather events.
And also we call on Congress to take swift and effective action on climate change to protect current and future students.
Why not?
Sure. Is it anybody make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
Would like a second? All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. Resolution 5 is full funding of transportation costs for students in foster care and state care, which I think is a wonderful thing.
So I'll make a motion to support that. We could have used that last year.
Yeah, I'll second.
Yep.
And I'll 100 this. And I'm going to put a personal dig. Worcester school system needs to step up to the plate. Maybe this would help them.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Resolution, so we all voted yes. Universal quality pre-kindergarten access in Massachusetts. We resolve to file support for legislation that will provide a sufficient appropriation for universal pre-K in Massachusetts and will achieve the actions necessary to provide access to good quality universal pre-K for all children in Massachusetts.
I'll make a motion to support this resolution.
All this. Just for clarification, that's because kindergarten is not mandated in Massachusetts. Full day kindergarten. No, it's not.
It's not.
So what would the implications be if we mandated it? It would mean funding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, so just be careful how we support this.
Right, so the resolution is...
I mean, not that we're funding anything, but there is a funding issue here.
And that is the resolution. The resolution is that MASC file or support legislation that will provide a sufficient appropriation for universal pre-K.
Right.
So it's not offering that we're going to just do it without them paying for it.
Right.
We're going to ask them to pay for it.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
Or
I'm on board
take
with
from
that.
one bucket to put into the other bucket. So,
yeah.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Resolution 7, poverty in children. And this is The resolution would ensure that our undeserved population of school children will be provided with the supports and services necessary for lasting success in the classroom and in their future, knowing that by eliminating the ravages of poverty, these strategies have been proven to increase positive student outcomes. This resolution will level the playing field by helping to ensure equity and to close achievement gap for vulnerable cohort of children. That's a lofty goal, and I support that. I'm not sure how they are going to achieve that.
Well, I think the thing above it lists how they're going to do it, support revenue stream to support social and economic priorities for children and families, support for state program and services that serve children at greatest social and emotional risk, advocacy for nutrition programs that eradicate hunger, advocacy for health care, including vision, hearing, dental, and mental health through accessible services, support pre-kindergarten programs for all children, advocacy for increasing educational opportunities for children to grow both inside and outside of school. And those are huge commitments that are
lofty goals,
monetary in nature.
It does say this resolution is a reaffirmation of a 2015 resolution. So my guess is we're falling behind on a commitment that was made, and therefore they want to put it back at the forefront. So
certainly any of these things that are done would improve student outcomes.
Sure.
Right. Yep.
Right.
I would certainly in favor.
All right, Mike will make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Isabel? All those in favor? Resolution 8 for access to menstrual supplies.
There was a thing in the Boston Globe about a month ago. I don't know if you guys read it. There was a big argument because there was one particular school, for whatever reason, and I don't remember where it was, they didn't have menstrual supplies. And the girl went and asked for some. And there was a guy, he said, what can I do? And so the person turned around and says, when you go to the bathroom, what would happen if you don't have any toilet paper? Well, same thing, you need supplies there. You know? You can't just all of a sudden find there's nothing there.
So, Ron, would you like to make a motion to support this?
I make a motion to support this because, believe me, it will come and bite you in the back if you don't support it. Because as a nurse, I have to hand out these things.
I don't think anybody's...
No, I know. But no, it's because I heard the argument in the paper, and they ripped it up because the guy, for whatever, whether it's a guy or a girl, they just don't understand the necessity of the supplies.
All right. Anybody second the motion? Second. Isabel? All those in favor? All right. Motion carries.
So the nurses all have that supply here in the Leominster.
I would think so.
Oh, yeah.
Charter school reform is the resolution 9. The Massachusetts Association of School Committees seek legislative action to both address the deleterious effects of charter schools funding on certain municipalities and school districts across the state and approve comprehensive set of reforms that includes, and then there's a whole list of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I support it.
Okay. So Sue made the motion. Mike seconded it. All those in favor? All right. Motion carries. And then that's the end of our resolution. All right, Ron, thank you so much for agreeing to take care of this.
I'll give you a heads up about what happened.
Right, you can report back.
The proposal to amend the bylaw.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had gotten them all.
That was
the last one. The thing at the bottom, I'm not sure if all is there. Is that something we need to talk about or not?
I don't think we have to vote on it.
I don't think we're voting on it now.
Fine by me.
All right. We are moving on to...
We've done 5B already.
We've done, and 5C is being tabled. So we're moving on to new and old business. Anybody have any new or old business to bring forward?
I went to Johnny Appleseed today to see their 100-acre wood festival about the whole school does a reading of books, and the younger grade read a Winnie the Pooh story, and the older grades read about how Winnie the Pooh came about. And Winnie the Pooh originated in Winnipeg, and I didn't know that. So, yeah. And it just was, they had all kinds of activities for the kids to do, and there was a presentation about having bees and making honey, and teachers were dressed as Winnie the Pooh or Piglet, and the Garden Spot provided Eeyore to come and be there. So yeah, it was really fun, and the kids really liked it, and it was a nice day, very nice day.
Awesome, great. Thank you for attending. Anybody else have anything, older news?
Steve is here to give us an update on our internet service bill that has, I believe, still not been paid.
What?
Good evening.
Hi. Welcome, Steve.
So the comptroller has asked for some additional information. So we provided the additional information maybe a couple weeks ago on October 8th. And so he's reviewing that information right now with Greg Chaplain, the assistant comptroller. And so they have a right to look into E-rate, ask questions about that. And so right now we provided the information to them, and we're just waiting for a response from them.
So, I guess, and I'm being a little facetious, but last year we had this whole big issue around the E-rate and having everything be paid. We wanted to do it a certain way. The comptroller did not want to do it that way, so we needed to change the way that we procured funding for that. We now are doing it the way that they've requested, and yet now they're still not paying the bill.
Yes, I don't believe the issue is around the payment part of it. The method, we are doing the method that he prefers, and so that's not the issue. He was looking to get some more information around the process that we used.
But let's be clear. I mean, last year he refused to pay the bill using the discount method that every other community in the state uses. We agreed to do it his way. You did an enormous amount of work working with Greg Chaplain to put this out to bid. We accepted a bid. We have a contract. They're doing a good job. They've been doing that good job for 4 months now without being paid, and we haven't paid. So 4 months into a contract does not seem to me to be a good time to be suggesting that more information. We did the process the way we were told to do by the comptroller and the purchasing agent. How can they have questions this late in the game? We've already got a contract. We should be paying the bill, shouldn't we? And I know you're hearing my frustration. It's not aimed at you.
We do have a contract. Yeah. We did follow a process.
Which they approved.
That is set up. So E-rate is set by the federal government. We have a consultant to keep us on track because it's a very complicated process. And so we did follow the process. The consultant worked with me in order to ensure that we followed the process. The comptroller had an opportunity to ask questions at the time. We brought the decision to him before we made it. So I am hopeful that we'll have a resolution soon to this.
So at this point, our vendor, is he patient?
The vendor is patient. I spoke with them. They got bought out, so it's now Cherry Road Technologies. So as as far as I know, they're patient. The last I spoke with them,
Still turned on.
Okay, yeah. They're not threatening to turn off our internet service?
they're not yet.
But isn't the bottom line that City Hall wants us to use a different vendor? They have a particular vendor, and they wanted us to use that vendor. So
that could be. They haven't told me that. If they wanted me to look a little more closely at a particular vendor, I would have.
The process was clean. We've gone through every step.
Yep.
So it's been nice when they've asked for documentation. We have it available.
What does the consultant say about all this?
The consultant said that we followed the process, we did everything correctly, but they have a right to ask questions and to do that part. So
How long do they have a right? How long do they have a right to put up a roadblock before it gets to be a little dicey?
So that was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but the time to ask questions was before we signed the contract and started accepting services. 4 months in is, right, who operates that way? You hire someone to do something, and then you let them do it, and then you go, wait, I have questions I can pay you. Those questions needed to, if there were actual questions that weren't already addressed, they should have been addressed during the process.
Have they issued a drop dead date?
No.
Do they look like they're going to try and give us a drop dead date?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
not right now. They haven't expressed that to me.
Nobody likes to cut off internet service to schools.
I know that.
But they can only be expected to be patient for so long in providing a service.
And you're right, Michael. No other business. You can't. No business.
Yeah.
You enter something and all of a sudden, you know what? I'm not going to go to you today. I got some questions. You know how long that would last?
So, Steve, we appreciate, and we're not meaning to shoot the messenger, because we know you're probably equally frustrated. So hopefully the comptroller, etc., will be watching this and understand that the school system is frustrated, and we use our internet service quite extensively throughout the district, and hope that we can pay the vendor so we can continue to receive good service.
One other thing I want to ask, and that's selfish on my part. You were saying, either you or you, Mike, you were saying that Stephen has done a lot of work on this. A yeoman's work. The dirty person in me, I want him to add up the hours that he spent. The hours that you spent doing this. Add it up. And then, why? Someone has to pay. There's a consequences.
Right, but the bottom line is Steve's on salary. So
I know he's on salary.
Give him extra
I know
money for this.
It's not his fault. He's on salary. But how do you spend the money? Do you spend the money? He represents the money that's being spent because someone else is asking literally for the devil in the details. And we've already given the details to the devil.
Right. I don't think.
Burning for more useful tasks.
Right.
That's right. That's exactly what I was going to.
Sure.
And that's why I would like him.
Well, we don't want to add to his task.
No, it's not a task. He already has. He could just tell us how many hours he's been doing this.
I can assure you that I am also getting my other work done.
we have faith in you. So we appreciate it.
But because you're absolutely correct, but that's the gist of it. That's exactly where I was going with
and
that.
I think everybody's agreeing with you, Ron, but the bottom line is, the folks that need to pay the bill don't really, care. That's not going to impact them.
Yeah.
But we appreciate your efforts and thank you,
Yes.
and hopefully you can give us a positive update in the near future.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One question.
Yep.
Where are we at with the city agreement for the chargebacks? Yeah, because what's funny is, as I said before, I'm going through I've been through 7 boxes of paperwork that I've accumulated over the 6 years that I've been on this committee. And the very first meeting dealt with, in 2013, dealt with the chargebacks and getting an agreement, and here we are, 6 years later, still talking about the same thing, not getting any place.
We did actually get some documentation for a change last year about the indirect charges that had already happened. But our proposed indirect charges agreement that we passed and sent to City Hall a year ago we've received no response at all. No, not even a no, just nothing. That's just been ignored.
So does it make sense for maybe us to resubmit it since it's been long forgotten, I'm sure?
Quite possible.
So along with that, because I was going to ask, where are we in the end of the year report? Because that was being held up.
Yeah.
Right? So did we, I know at our finance meeting, it was due October 18th.
We finished, the school departments finished their part.
Right.
We're waiting for the city to provide.
So we submitted it.
We can't submit it.
No, we submitted it to the city, our part, right?
But in order for it to be done, the city has to provide their accounting of the indirect charges for last fiscal year. And we have to have the indirect charges agreement for this fiscal year.
So we have not filed the annual report.
So we have not filed our annual
report. And so we will be penalized.
Which we were last year.
We will
but
be
there's
penalized.
Another consequence right now,
the school department will not be penalized.
No, the city will
be penalized.
Right.
Last year, Chapter 70 and circuit breaker money was withheld for 2 months because of the end-of-year report not being in. Then it was finally in, and we started getting those, and then they started withholding again because of the free cash report not being in. Yeah, there was a lot of withholding last year. The state does seem to be losing patience, so I would predict possibly that that money will be withheld from the city sooner rather than later this year, but I don't know. That's totally out of our control.
So, I mean, should we have a discussion with the city council on this? I mean, right? Yeah, well, here we are asking them, hey, can you fund these capital projects for us? And at the same time, you know, we're deliberately withholding information to get our city dollars in a timely manner.
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't make sense.
We're not deliberately. We're not deliberately. We're being forced.
I say we, meaning the
we're
city, is withholding. Yeah, but I think it's, you know, at the end of the day, we're all one taxpayer. So,
yeah, but I don't think they know it. I don't think city council knows it.
Well, that's why I'm saying that we should probably bring this up.
And, you know, I sit here 6 years later with the same stuff, and I leave it to the rest of you and to the new people that are going to be coming on to challenge this again, to hopefully
I have
get
had
this solved.
conversations with the finance chair, the education chair, and my ward councilor about this. So they are somewhat aware. It would not hurt to continue those conversations.
Sure. I wonder if does it make sense to send a memo down to City Council, you know, requesting that these things be submitted, so not to jeopardize, you know, our funding from the state.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea.
Right. Just they, you know, I mean, they can't provide them. They have to come from
the mayor,
from the mayor and John. And even after we get them, John won't sign the certification statement, which is actually required. So far, Desi has complained about that every year, but gone ahead and let that go. I couldn't tell you if that will continue to be the case, since they seem to be getting more irritated at the state level with us.
Well, that's good that they're getting irritated. Good. I want them to be irritated. Believe me, I want them to be so irritated. I want them like sandpaper on soft skin. I want it. So, because then we're going to have some action, damn it.
So at planning subcommittee too, you had found that there were some refunds of worker comp claims.
Yes.
What happened with that?
So, well, since I don't know, because the city has not given us their accounting of indirect charges. Do you know we are charged? City self-funds for workers' compensation. We put $350,000 in a pool, which is managed by MIIA, and we pay them a fee for managing it. We also pay them an insurance fee in case for some reason we exhaust the pool. And the school department is charged as an indirect charge a percentage of that total based on our percent of total payroll. However, we get money back from unspent money from the pool comes back to the city at the end. I start to say at the end of the year, but actually there's a separate pool for each year, and there's the managers determined this 5-year-old pool we think won't have claims against it anymore. We'll release the rest. This 4-year-old pool, we think we can release half of it. So there are over $500,000 in refunds to the city from various pools in the past fiscal year. So it's my expectation that a correct accounting of indirect charges we should have an indirect charge for our percent of the net, not just what was spent up front without paying attention to what came back later. So I intend to watch for that when we actually get the report of indirect charges to make sure that we aren't being charged what was spent initially and not being credited what was refunded. I'm not sure what else to do about that other than we're aware of it, and we have to make sure we account for it correctly when the information comes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for staying on top of that and to get back to us. Anybody else have anything to bring up during new and old business? All right. And maybe Superintendent going forward, or Mike, if we can just, bring this back up, at least monthly, to have an update to see whether these things have gotten resolved.
Right.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Can we have a report on AP courses? The testing was done. We should have had the AP scores.
Sure.
Back in the summertime, we could have a report on the AP scores.
Yeah, usually we get that report around now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.